Hey everyone, welcome back to the MSP show here on Blog Talk Radio and on YouTube. And I think we're broadcasting all over the internet on different devices and different services. If you're listening to us on Blog Talk Radio, click that little follow button up in the upper right-hand corner and subscribe to our channel here on Blog Talk Radio. If you're on YouTube, click below in that big red subscribe button and you'll see that little bell next to it. Make sure you click on that too to get notified when we have great content like we do today. I have a very dear friend, close colleague. Matt and I have been running around together for many, many years. And Matt is with Acapella Technologies in, I'll just say, southern New Hampshire. You service all you service all the southern Hampshire, so Concord, Nashua, Manchester. Matt, give us an introduction of Acapella. Actually, a little bit about yourself. How you got into this industry and why you decided to be a managed service provider after, you're like me, you're getting a little gray here in the goatee, so we've been around for a while. But tell me, how did you get into this industry?
Well, so it's an interesting story. Many years ago now, 1995, 96, I had a friend at work who was going to be, he comes to me and he says, Matt, we're going to make $1 million. I'm going to build websites and you're going to sell them. So I said, that sounds great. What's a website? Right. And he said, I looked into it and it seemed like obviously it was the very fledgling years of a great opportunity. So, I said, okay, Leo, I'm in. He said, well, he was 10 years younger than I at the time. I was 35 and he was 25. And he said, my girlfriend said if I quit my job, she's going to break up with me or some such nonsense. But now I've already drank the Kool-Aid, right? So I just quit my job. At the time, website design was ridiculously simple, right? You do it in Notepad. Long story short, one thing evolved into another, and the company's evolved over the years into what we are today, which is a managed service provider. We no longer do website design. We have partners that do, like Ulistic, so we're only an MSP. And about the time we were changing over from web design to MSP to a network play, if you will, I learned about MSPs, and that was probably 12 years ago. And I thought, well, why would anybody do anything different than that? So we really have very few break-fix customers that it's almost a favor. But all of our customers are now managed customers, and we've been very, very fortunate. We've got some great relationships, and it's been a great run.
So at the time we're recording this podcast, we're smack dab in the middle of COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. How are things holding up in New Hampshire?
In New Hampshire in general, I read a statistic yesterday that 72% of the new unemployment claims are in 3 industries: hospitality, retail, and something else. So it's all kind of clustered. So generally in New Hampshire, in manufacturing and medical offices, that was the third one.
It's funny that would be into that.
Well, medical offices, obviously you can't go to a restaurant, so hospitality and restaurants are one thing. Medical offices, that's a very intimate interaction, right? You're awfully close to one another, and I think that's part of why that is. But those things are loosening up here. Restaurants will open on Monday for outside seating. Some medical offices are preparing to open next week, and retail stores are already open on a limited basis. So the state is doing well. In the meantime, we've been very, very fortunate. We've suffered virtually no financial ramifications. Our company is virtual as it stands, so we are accustomed to working from home. So that's not anything new for us. So we've been very blessed. I'm knocking on my desk. We have been virtually unaffected by the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, and I find everybody I talk to is sharing the same sentiments. Of course, those MSPs that focus in those 3 sectors probably are seeing maybe some different results. But I was talking with a colleague yesterday that does a lot of dental. So yesterday we had our Ulistic cocktail hour. We had an outside speaker come in and talk about leading teams in a virtual environment, and one of our partners was on who does a lot of dental work in the DC metro area. He said he thought he was going to get hit hard, but it was the exact opposite. All the dentists took this time to retool their businesses when they were closed. So that
Right.
was a fortunate, experience for him. But it was interesting that I obviously hospitality and those sectors, but everybody I've talked to, that are servicing manufacturing or professional services are saying it's busier now than it's ever been. Maybe a little bit of a downtick, but not much of a downtick.
The way that I've been characterizing it is that we've got the same amount of work, just maybe a little bit more relaxed pace. So people, we for a while coming into March, things were pretty frantic. We were running around pretty hard, but now everybody's still busy, but a little more relaxed.
Yeah, I wish I can say the same. It's been crazy for us right now. The whole last couple of months, it's been an eye-opening experience for sure. So Matt, one of the things before all this coronavirus and COVID-19 hit, one of the things I admired about your business, and it was kind of like what I was doing in the street, running around the streets of Calgary back in from 2001 to 2008 when I was running my own MSP. I built it on the backs of hard work and networking. So you built a very loyal following in the networking world in southern New Hampshire and parts of Massachusetts as well. What's the secret, Matt? I know a lot of MSPs. We talked about this a lot. They go to a chamber of commerce meeting. They stand up and do their "Hi, I'm Joe, and I run an IT company, and a good lead for me is blah 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 blah." Then they report back to their office. Hey, I told you that didn't work. I'm not going to go to those meetings anymore.
Sure.
What's the secret?
We've talked about this before, and at the very crux of the secret, the success of a networking means of building your business is that you have to be a farmer and not a hunter, right? A hunter will go out for a day, and if he hasn't come back with a couple of appointments, then he's failed. For me, I go to a chamber of commerce event or a networking event of some sort, and if I've met a half dozen people that might be great referral sources, I've had a great outing. So it's really about building the very word network suggests that it's about building a network of people who know you and trust you and are willing to recommend you or use you in their own business. It's a much more community focused and relationship focused approach than again more hunting traditional sales.
So are you the type of guy, Matt? I know the answer to this already, but I want to hear from you. Are you the type of guy, Matt, that walks into a room with their machine gun loader full of business cards and walks in and starts, here's my card, right?
No, man, you're right.
Those guys scare me, by the way.
What's that?
Those guys scare me, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They're scary. No, it's all about relationship, right? So you walk into a room and if you've been successful in your networking, the first thing you have to do is say hello to the first half dozen people that you come across and are friends with. It's a very friendship oriented, relationship oriented thing. I don't hand out a lot of business cards. I keep a dozen or so in my pocket in the event that I need them, or in case somebody needs 3 or 4 to give out the 3 or 4 referrals. But no, it's again farming, not hunting.
And the thing that scares me about the whole thing now is those same I call them the Spider-Man Spidey shooters things, for business cards. They're doing that now on social media. I connect to a person on LinkedIn, and the first thing I get is hey, you got to buy my product message. So they're taking that from the physical world now into the virtual world, which is even worse because what I do right away is just block.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously a lot of MSPs are unsuccessful in networking. And there's some really good books. I highly recommend people check out a book by Bob Berg called Endless Referrals. Another book by Bob and John David Manrow called The Go-Giver. These are all great books to read.
Oh, I love The Go-Giver. I recommend that every chance I get.
So, one of the things that I did, Matt, was from the Endless Referrals program was, let's say I met you at a Chamber of Commerce meeting. We had a really good discussion. The first thing I would do as soon as I get back to my office I don't have one on my desk to show you, but it would be a simple card that would fit inside a number 10 size envelope. And I called it a wild card. And I would write a handwritten note and send that in the mail to people just so they, something like that. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that, even so they just remember who I was
Right.
from that meeting. Because here's the thing, most people don't do that.
Right.
Actually, most people can't come out and say, what do you got for, most people do networking. You got any leads for me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's no good. I'm working hard at getting better at sending cards. I have them on my desk, and I've committed to myself that I'm going to send one a day, and ultimately two a day, and more as I go. But I think I have a little hang up about it. My handwriting is terrible, so I don't.
Same with me. Yeah, mine's horrible. You
Yeah.
got to find somebody who has good handwriting to do that for you.
Well, then it's not a personal note, right?
That's right.
So that's the battle I'm facing. It's a first world problem, I'm sure.
So, talk about the success thing. How much of your business comes from just your networking effort? Is it majority of your business comes from people business to you?
It's all of it, Stu. We really, and we don't tout the fact that we're referral only. Some people name their business by referral only. It's not that formal for us, but we don't do any traditional advertising. You and I have spoken about that. We had an opportunity in a magazine here recently. So we don't buy ad space. We don't do radio ads. We've been very successful with Eulistic's help in digital marketing and social media. But all of the business that comes to our business, with very few exceptions, is a result of someone who knows someone who introduces us to them. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. We're in the digital marketing space, and I would say the majority of our business comes from one of our clients saying we did a great job for them, and they refer us over to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get found on Google and all that stuff too. But the really good clients that we get come to us because, hey, somebody that you trust, and you're not an ass, Matt, so you're not going to refer an ass to me, right?
Right.
Right. So that's one of the things I like about the referral. And I built IT Matters on the same principle that we got a lot of referral, but we did a really good job in the oil and gas business. And what I loved about the oil and gas business is CEOs of oil companies talk to other CEOs of oil companies.
Yeah, that's not unique to that industry, right? I mean, they have professional associations where they all sit around a table and eat breakfast. And geez, I can't get my server keeps going down and Jeepers, call Stuart or call Matt, or that's the way business gets done in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
So do you see, Matt, that the world of networking is going to change now? And I really hate the terminology, the post-COVID world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's face it, when we come out of this pandemic, which we will eventually, who knows when, but we will eventually. Do you feel that the world of networking is going to evolve? I'm not going to say change, but evolve. Are we going to see more virtual type stuff and combined with physical? Or are we going to go right back to, getting together at the chamber for, a scrambled egg and bacon breakfast?
Yeah, I think there'll be both. I think that we'll be slow to go back. People will be hesitant to be in a room with 150 people or 80 people. So there'll be more and more virtual networkings. And I was listening to a little snippet from Simon Sinek this morning. I'm sure you know of Simon. He was talking about businesses that adapt, right? And he said the COVID-19 virus will change things. Things will never go back to fully normal, but businesses that are able to adapt will be fine. The internet was a sea change for the world, slower than COVID, but nonetheless, some businesses will perish, some will flourish. In the ones that can adapt and change according to the times, those are the ones that'll make it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We had a couple of, I would say, thought leader clients of ours who, as of even a few weeks ago, put out, we want to start adding thermal imaging temperature cameras into our managed service program. And we already picked all the partner. I just need to get a page on our website. And, I talked to one of them yesterday. He's already got 3 leads.
Mm-hmm.
By adapting to looking at it and saying, we're no longer just a remote monitoring and remote remedy type of company. We have to be proactive and go to our clients and say, here's the new technology and here's how it ties into your network.
Right. One of the things that I'm a little behind the power curve on this, but I see great opportunity with more people working from home, in just phishing and spyware protection, and that's something that's been in the market for a long time. But I think it'll become an area of focus for us. When people are working from home, they might be just a little less cautious about what they click on, and training for those people. As we all know, the weakest link in your computing network is the people. So we're going to work a little bit more on phishing training and those kind of things, and see if we can't derive some new revenue there.
Are you looking at it as kind of a loss leader to get your foot in the door, like offering something like, hey, join the Acapella Power Hour once a week, and we're going to cover some sort of training, invite all your staff and people, and get to the point where they say, okay, you know what, this one's free to attend. We can help you more if you, it's kind of, because I think what I learned is I have a couple clients in Australia that I've been working with, and I do this every day for them. I just send out a very simple email every single day. They are not the type of person that's going to shy away from sending an email to the list every single day.
Yeah.
And what they've done is they made it educational. Here's a thing on how to use OneNote to put a note into Outlook. Very simple tips. And what some people think of being labeled as a spammer. We have some people saying, "Oh, I'm not emailing that more than once a week," right?
Right.
These guys are emailing every day, and the feedback they're getting is fantastic. Yeah, you know what? They're getting unsubscribes and people, that happens. But the feedback, he says, has been fantastic, and people are emailing him with questions. Hey, can you address this?
Yep. It's a different kind of audience, right? You know this. The people that are annoyed, and it's a different kind of presentation. If you're sending a tip once a day, I'll read a tip once a day. If I'm reading a marketing message, don't talk to me more than once a month, or barely at all. It's a different kind of relationship with the recipient of that email.
If you need my services, you'll find me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I educate you on how to, get your website to go up one tick in the search engines, and it's something that you can do by going to this website and getting, listing your company on this directory. Well, that takes 5 minutes, and what we're looking at doing is building up that, what's the terminology? Social credibility, or building up the social bank of trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody like you has a need, they're going to say, "Yeah, that guy Stuart, he keeps sending me good tips. I'm going to call him."
You bet. It's a great strategy.
It kind of takes that whole networking thing to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
almost. Because you can email your tips to a networking colleague of yours, and what do? If they like you, they're going to forward that on to all their friends.
You bet.
So it's a great strategy. So Matt, where do you see? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's look into your crystal ball now.
Okay.
Let's look at.
Do I need my turban? Do I need my turban?
Yeah, sure. I can give you mine here, right?
Right.
Let's look at Acapella in 2030.
Yeah.
Where do you see you guys? Where do you think the MSP world is going to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that we did to adapt years ago is we became a service-based revenue company, right? We don't make any money on hardware and software. Our revenue is service-based. So that was an adaptation that makes our company more appealing. So I think that to try to make estimates about what the market's going to look like in 10 years is a little bit difficult. But what I can tell you is that we'll be a significantly larger company in 10 years, but working hard to maintain the same company culture. I read a quote from Theodore Roosevelt yesterday that I've used 100 times in the past. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. So that's the kind of business that we run. So hopefully we can grow dramatically and maintain the same culture. That's a big part of my responsibility, is being the culture Nazi, right? Making sure that everybody's respecting everybody, both internally and externally. We might be 100 people by then, but we'll be working hard to keep the same mentality. And I assure you that with every change in technology, and we will. Because adaptability is at the very front of my mind, we'll adapt to any technology changes or business changes that come our way in the next 10.
So here's what I kind of realized I do a lot of thinking. Like usually my weekend time when I'm coiled up with a good business book, and I'm kind of getting back into that practice of reading again, which is very strange for me because I haven't done it in years.
Yeah.
When I do a lot of thinking on where the future is going to go, and one thing remains true, and it's a lesson I learned from my great grandfather. He sitting down with me when I was a boy and saying, you know what, nobody cares. Exactly what he said. Nobody cares what you know until you know that that you care about them. The same words, same effect. He says, Stuart, your real value is going to be built on how many people that are in your personal network, right? And he says it's funny because he says these guys that you're hanging with right now, some of them are going to be your trusted friends. I have a guy named Jerry who's been with friends of mine for 45 years, right? Since we were 6 years old. Now I just gave away my age, right? But him and I still talk to each other quite regularly. When I go up to Niagara Falls, we go for breakfast. We're still good friends. And then I have some people that I look back and I say, you haven't done anything since high school. Like, you haven't, So I always tell people, and this goes to business too. Sometimes you got to dump your loser clients and dump your loser friends,
right?
And focus on the ones that are going to get there. And the other thing my grandfather taught me was, whatever you do, don't lose focus on the person who signs the check.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the people are what matters the most. So I had an opportunity. I would say this is just when I got out of the Army. I think this was like 1998. The guy who gave me my first job, I'm very fortunate. I had a chance to have lunch with him in St. Petersburg not too long ago. He was just happened to be in. He actually reached out to me on Facebook, and I was sitting in St. Petersburg one night having a cigar, and he says, "Where can I buy cigars in Tampa?" I said, "Are you coming to Tampa?" I said, "Well, I'm coming. I'm flying in tonight. So let's go for lunch tomorrow, and I'll show you some places." So we got together for lunch, and he asked me in 1998. He said, "So you have two jobs. I have two opportunities for you. You could be a server guy and work in the server room, or you could be our desktop guy and work with people." And I reflected back on what my grandfather said to me. He says, "Always, whatever possible, always work with people."
Right.
So I said, I don't want to be the server guy. So I never, as an IT guy, I didn't know anything. My first Windows Server mat I set up, I did a stripe set across multiple disks. Well, you know what happened? Like a few months later, one of the disks failed, and I lost the whole set. Right?
Oh.
We all learn from those mistakes, right? But I learned. I mean, I was in my early days of IT, I was the desktop guy,
mm-hmm.
and I learned everything about the applications and the services that my users were using.
Right.
And trust me, they gave me a chance to talk to the Merac people, the Acumat people, all the line of business apps that everybody used. And guess what? I made a relationship. They referred more business over to us, more than if I was just some IT guy hanging out in the back closet. So
right.
That's why I love what I do now, is I get to work with guys like you and different types of people all over. But at the end of the day, I'm still worried. I'm still focused on people.
Right.
Yeah, the SEO, the social media, that's all important stuff. But the end of the day is sitting down and talking to people, and I think that's kind of the same mantra you have.
It is. I must say, 10 or 15 times a week, both personally and professionally and philanthropically, right? We're involved in a whole bunch of different charities, and I sit on some boards. But my belief across all of those things, personal, business, and philanthropy, is relationship is everything. If you with and the server guys in the back room don't feel that way.
They're important people.
They're great. They're great. They're great people, but they're different people, and there's room for both. And my relationship, ironically, with that guy is every bit as important as the guy that signs the check. And everyone, you have to respect everyone and earn everyone's respect. That's that, and the notion, as you sort of touched on earlier, the emotional bank account, right? All of those things, interpersonal relations, are at the very heart of my life and of my business philosophy.
And you mentioned the emotional bank account, which I think is very important, because if you don't build up the assets in the emotional bank account, when you do have to make a withdrawal, and
Mm-hmm.
withdrawals do happen every once in a while, if there's nothing in there, guess what happens? You're no longer taking care of that person, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, keep whatever you can do. Keep putting deposits into that emotional bank account. Matt, last thing before we part. Yesterday we had David Finkel on, who is a CEO of Maui Mastermind, which is Blake's business coach he works with.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the whole thing about working virtual success. One of the things that he talked about was two types of players in your company: role player and growth player.
Yeah.
And he talked about, okay, you're going to have people that are, come in 8:30 to 5, do their job, doing really well that you can't afford to lose, and you're going to have the people that are growth players. I know this is not related to our topic, but I'd like to find out your opinion. How do you account for that in Acapella? Obviously you're going to have both. I mean, for me, I made the fatal mistake of trying to put role players into growth mode, and
Right. All
they just
the
don't.
right people in the right seats, right? That's what you need.
Yeah. Yeah. So how does Acapella deal with something like that? I mean, obviously with, as you continue to have this virtual culture, and again, you made it public, you want to grow. I'm going to hold you. I'm going to play this video back in 2030 and see if you have 100 people.
That would
Right.
please me greatly.
That's a lot. That's why I love about document versus create kind of content.
Right.
Is I can play this back and say, hey, did Matt make it 100 people goal by 2030? But
right.
As you grow and you want to maintain the culture, how do you address for that? Like, obviously we're going to have to hire server guys.
Sure.
And you're going to want to have our server guys that may want to grow into something else. How do you account for that?
Well, so there's a lot of thoughts on that, and I have different, depending on the conversation and the audience, I have different ways to express that. Right. In philanthropy, I talk a lot about visionaries and functionaries, which is just different words for what you're talking about, right? People who come and do their job, and people who have a vision for the future. The growth people obviously are the visionaries, and they're great, but yeah, people have to do their jobs, and I'm a big fan of becoming a big fan of EOS. Have you read the book Traction, Stu?
Oh yeah.
So in Traction, it's the entrepreneurial operating system, and they talk about having all the people in the right seats, all the right people in the right seats. You can't put someone who wants to come in at 8 and leave at 5 into a visionary seat, a growth seat, to use that other gent's terminology. That's just not going to work. And so you have to be sensitive to that. And it goes back to the fact that relationship is everything. If I don't know all my people very, very, very well and understand their strengths and weaknesses and put them in a position to succeed, the company can't succeed. So I think we'll always have pretty good luck. We make our own luck, right? I think we'll always have pretty good luck as long as we're sensitive to who our people are and where they belong, what seat they belong in, and our relationship with them and their relationship with our customers.
Wonderful. Good closing thoughts. So Matt, just share your website, contact information, just in case somebody's listening to this and wants to reach out. Even maybe it's even a business in Manchester, Concord, Southern New Hampshire, just happened to stumble upon this by searching on the web. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you. So my personal email address is matt@acapella.com, and Acapella is spelled ACAP as in Peter, ELLA. Our web address is naturally www.acapella.com, and our phone number is 603-647-1784.
Great, Matt. Thanks again for doing this. I appreciate everything you've done for us over the years and the value of our relationship each and every day. Now that you're even stepped up into a high performance group, we're looking forward. We're gonna work really hard to get that 100 people by 2030, my friend.
I would be thrilled, and as with you, thank you for this opportunity, and I've enjoyed our relationship from the very start.
So, folks, there's check out Matt's website, acapella.com. Thanks for tuning into this week's MSP show on Blog Talk Radio and YouTube. As always, make sure you follow us on any of your favorite channels. I know we're on iTunes and a few other channels all over the internet. Make sure you check us out. And we look forward to having another great show next week. And stay tuned for our agenda. We're going to release things over. We've been slowing down a little bit now that this coronavirus thing's kind of steadying and just getting back to work and being busy. So thanks again, Matt. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you all next week.